They say you can't choose your family. You can't choose what they leave behind either. When my estranged grandfather passed away, he left me everything, which as it turned out wasn't much. A decaying house 2 hours from a town I'd never heard of, and a lifetime of accumulated dust. I was there for the final clean-out, a duty I felt I owed to a man I barely knew. It was in the attic, hidden behind a stack of moth-eaten trunks, that I found it. The clock. It was a grandfather clock, 7 feet tall, carved from a wood so dark it seemed to swallow the light. The craftsmanship was intricate, beautiful in a severe Gothic way, but it was broken. The long, elegant hands that should have marked the hours and minutes were completely gone. Just an empty brass stud in the center of the faded, numbered face. It was useless, but I couldn't bring myself to leave it. I thought it would make a strange, artistic statement piece in my modern apartment, a monument to useless time. So, against my better judgment, I had it moved. Back in the city, it dominated my living room. A dark, silent tower in the corner. I spent an afternoon cleaning it, polishing the wood until it shone, cleaning the grimy glass until the painted numbers were clear. It didn't work, of course, it was just there, silent, still. The first night I was woken by a sound. It was so faint I thought I'd dreamt it. A single dry tick. I lay in the darkness listening, but there was nothing. Just the hum of the city outside my window. I told myself it was the old house settling. My apartment building wasn't old, but it was the only logical explanation. The next day, nothing. The clock remained silent, but the night after, it happened again. Tick. Then, a few minutes of silence. Tock. It was maddening. It wasn't the steady, rhythmic beat of a normal clock. It was arrhythmic, unpredictable. A slow, wooden heartbeat echoing in my apartment. I tried everything. I opened the back panel, finding only cobwebs and still, silent gears. There was no pendulum, no mechanism that could possibly be making a sound. Yet every night the sporadic ticking would start, a random, lonely sound in the dark. Then came the chime. It was a week later, 3 a.m. I was jolted from sleep, not by a tick, but by a sound so alien and horrifying it made my blood run cold. It was a single deep resonant gong, but the sound was wrong. It was discordant, like a church bell being struck with a hammer, a grating sound that vibrated through the floor and into my bones. The clock, the handless, broken clock, had chimed, and then, silence. A heavy, oppressive silence that was somehow worse than the sound it replaced. This wasn't the building settling, this was something else. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. The random ticking, the occasional soul-shaking chime, it was wearing me down. My work suffered. I became obsessed. I needed to know what this thing was. I tore through the last of my grandfather's boxes and found it. A small, leather-bound journal. His handwriting was a spider's scrawl, growing more erratic with each page. He wrote about the clock. He never called it a clock, though. He called it the Warden. He wrote that it didn't tell time. It ate it. It takes the small moments, he wrote. The moments you don't notice, the space between heartbeats, the breath you take before a thought, it feeds on the gaps. I didn't understand. Not at first. Then it started happening to me. I'd be walking to the subway, and suddenly I was a block further down the street. I'd be reading a book, and realize I'd turned 5 pages without absorbing a single word. They were small gaps, just seconds at a time. But they were happening more and more. I felt perpetually tired, like my energy was being siphoned away by an unseen parasite. The final entry in the journal was almost unreadable. The warden keeps what it takes, he wrote. And sometimes it shows you the debt, for God's sake, don't look. That was it. That's when I knew. The clock had to be destroyed. Fueled by a cocktail of terror and sleep deprivation, I grabbed a hammer from my toolbox. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic rhythm against the clock's slow, mocking tick. I walked into the living room, a man on a mission. I stood before it, this dark monument to my own stolen time. I raised the hammer, ready to smash the glass, to splinter the dark wood. And then I made a final, fatal mistake. I looked. The journal said, "Don't look." But I did. In the clean glass over the handless face, it wasn't my reflection that stared back. It was him. Me. But older. So much older. A frail, withered man with thin white hair and tired, hollow eyes that held a universe of regret. The reflection was me, aged by 100 years. And as I watched, frozen in horror, its chest slowly rose and fell. It was breathing.
I did it. I smashed the clock, broke it into 1,000 splinters, but as the hammer struck, it let out one final deafening chime, a final toll to lock in the debt. The ticking has stopped, but the silence is so much worse, because the gaps are still here. They're bigger now. Sometimes it's a minute, sometimes it's an hour. Lost, eaten, gone forever. I'm telling you this from somewhere in the fog, from a life being lived in fast forward. The warden is gone, but its debt is still being paid. Tell me, have you ever zoned out for a second and wondered where the time went?